G'day folks, Trog here. I set out on a mission to generate better stats for the drop rate of the Svalinn Girded Tower Shield. In 3.26 I ran over 1,000 maps, and in 3.27 I have now run over 5,000 maps to see just how many craters on average I would need to run to drop a shield. If you want the TLDR, it's 26. I have to run 26 craters on average to drop a shield. If that's enough for you, I'll see you in the next one, or if you want a little justification, then stick around for more info. The key focus of this video is going to be the chance for the Svalinn to drop from a crater. I won't have a strong focus on the chance for the crater to appear inside a map. The reason for that is that I made a lot of variations through my strategies throughout, so the sample sizes are a lot smaller, so that kind of thing's harder to compare. Initially in this video, I'm going to look through the drop rate on the PoE Wiki, as well as their sources for that information. Then I'll talk through my own process and my own results, and finally we'll merge all that information together and get a single number at the end. One caveat I want to give to all of this is that if you get into Svalinn farming yourself, you will need to be prepared for some dry spells, some times without finding any craters at all. So it means whatever farm that you're farming alongside Svalinn Tower Shields, you want that to be satisfying enough to keep you going for the dry spells. To give an example of my own longest dry spell in this, I had 178 maps that I didn't see a single crater for, and that was in my most juiced setup, I guess, for Svalins. I had a full atlas, I had 2 scarabs on for Kalgur for more ore nodes, and I had it on the atlas, so 5 extra chaos for 2 extra nodes on the map device, sorry. And despite all of that investment, it still took me 178 maps with not a single crater before I found one. So I would imagine if you don't have that much investment in your strat, you could have even bigger spells where you don't see a single crater. So keep that in mind. Although having said that, I am kind of curious about what causes such dry spells. So if you happen to be having one yourself, which I always see in conversations around this, feel free to whack a link to the atlas that you're running in a comment down below if you're jumping in there to say you've run 500 maps without seeing a single crater. And then we can kind of have a look at those and see if there's any trends with that. Mention the maps you're running as well. I have noticed, I feel like there's some differences in between the maps in the maximum number of ore nodes you can run in them. So there might be some differences there. Before we get into the maths of it all, I want to get into a little bit of the backstory of the Svalinn. Starting with the pronunciation, I actually think I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. I think it's meant to be Svalinn rather than Svalinn, so I apologize. I'm probably going to keep on doing that throughout the rest of this video. I'll try to pronounce it Svalinn. It comes from, I'm pretty sure they've copied it or been inspired from Norse mythology. There's a shield I found in Norse mythology with the exact same name. It has some ties to cold things. I don't really know the story, I apologize. But that's where I got this pronunciation from, which is
Svalinn.
Svalinn. Hopefully that comes through. You can also take the different
Svalinn.
voices
Svalinn.
here.
Svalinn.
Although I think
Svalinn.
they are just all computer generated from what I can tell. But there's that there for you if it matters to you. Next, we will quickly look at why people would want to use it. Why is it expensive? Why do people buy it? And why would you farm it? It does have a bit of a drawdown of negative chance to block spell and attack damage, but this last one here, block chance is lucky, makes up for all of that, and you end up getting a higher chance to block than pretty much, I think, any build in the game, or at least any build of the game that does have an extremely high block just gets better with this shield, is essentially the strat. Having said that though, I do know that Captain Lance hates it, so don't come at me if you watch this, Lance. Now this is the PoE Wiki I probably should have specified. If we look on the side for item acquisition, it cannot be chanced, so you can't use chance orbs to luck into it. And the one place that you can get it to drop is the Black Knight, so we'll switch over there. Within the Black Knight, some important things to mention here real quick is you have to be farming tier 16 plus maps. And obviously the area needs to contain ore deposits. We're pretty sure that they're swapping out for Verisium deposits. I haven't quite looked at any of the studies on that specifically, but we're all pretty confident that's the case. And there's lots of different ways that you can increase the chance for ore deposits to appear on your maps, as well as the chance for those ore nodes to turn into Verisium, and therefore increasing your chance for a Starfall Crater to fall, and then increasing your chance to be able to fight the Black Knight within that. So even once you kill the Black Knight, there's not a 100% chance that the shield's going to fall out of him. And that's what I'm looking into today, trying to help get that number. The wiki does give its own guess as to what the number is down the bottom here. Here it is. It gives us a drop rate of 2.5%. So out of 320, I checked these sources later, it's actually 327. Out of 327 Starfall Craters, this collection of 5 different sources found 8 shields. So with that maths, if you've got 8 shields out of 327 craters, you'd expect to see 1 shield every 40 to 41 maps on average. Now, each one of these points here relates to their references down the bottom. I've gone through each of these to have a look at it, see what I think of the numbers and the method of collection and whatnot. This first one reporting 1 shield out of 25 craters. This was a Reddit user posting this one. They don't really specify how they were gathering the information. I assume it was just they had a spreadsheet on the side and they were kind of just adding things in as they played. I definitely found when I did my 1000 maps last league, I did find even with that sample size, it did get a little bit challenging to stay focused for 1000 maps. Like, you're not doing it all in one sitting, obviously. So you can be drifting in and out. Like, you might miss one if you're zoned out or something like that. In that farm, I was trying to track a lot more things. So I was tracking like how many blueprints I was getting and things like that, trying to get more of an idea of the overall currency you were generating from it all. So I do find there can be a little bit of human and error involved in the spreadsheet on the side kind of method, although we are talking about an extremely infrequent thing, so it should be a special moment, I guess, and should remind you to pop it in the spreadsheet. Hard to say. This next one here from Order, the Discord user, is definitely the most math dense ones. It gets very statistics based, using confidence intervals and very statistics driven analysis, I would say. Certainly the most out of the batch. So I certainly felt like that gave me the most confidence in the data coming out of Order. Just by the way that it was presented, it was very confident. Now, it's possible that Order updated their spreadsheet. This is their spreadsheet here. They may have updated it after it was uploaded to Wiki, but they ended up having 87 craters in that first batch there instead. And they've also used the Wiki's own number there as well. So tallying the Wiki number up to 327 was their combined amount as well. So in my numbers later on, I've increased this to 327 as well. Now the next two, Spicy Sushi and Fool Exile. Spicy Sushi, I would assume everybody here knows. Very popular streamer. A lot of people would know the name. Fool Exile, this was the first time I'd heard of them, I know for myself. So slightly less popular name. Both of these examples was just coming out of their streams or their YouTube videos. They were kind of talking about what they had been up to. Definitely not presented as mathematically as Order did. It was a little bit more casually presented, I guess, in the way that the information was both presented and gained. So I guess even with Sushi being such a popular streamer, like obviously he's got stacks of people in his chat, so they would pick up on it if he did miss any and things like that. So I'm fairly confident in their numbers, but something in me just does like the presentation of a written format or some sort of, I just want spreadsheets, more spreadsheets, please. So we will use these numbers in our data, but I feel like when people are doing videos on smaller batches, like you're going to get more attention for a video if you've got quite an extreme amount. So either an extreme high or an extreme low, those videos are going to do better. So there might be some negative bias potentially coming out of these, not sure. Last one here is another Redditor. This one had done 157 craters and got 3 Svalinn shields out of it. This Redditor I felt like was much more specific. They mentioned the exact number of craters they were up to when they dropped each shield. So I would say their data was a little bit more specific than, is it Nurloin? Kind of like Sirloin? Not sure. They were a little bit more specific than they were, but not quite as detailed as Order. Overall though, nobody specified how they were gathering the information. So I assume everyone just had a spreadsheet on the side, and every time they ran into a crater or dropped a shield, they were manually tallying that on the side. I assume nobody clarified out of any of these sources how they were actually collecting the information. And so as a comparison, let's go into mine. All right, so next up, let's look at my process. If you are looking for the atlas and the strategy itself and how would you go about trying to farm a Svalinn Tower Shield, I would definitely recommend looking at my previous video. That's this one here. It'll be in the link in the description. This goes into the nitty-gritty of how you would actually go about it. This one is just talking about the results after you do it a bunch. The main change in strategies that has occurred along the way is in my previous video, I had bestiary involved as well, but I ended up cutting it out just because it was slowing me down in maps and I just wanted to pump through as many craters as I possibly could. As I mentioned before, when I did my previous leagues video, I did all of the data collection kind of manually. I had a spreadsheet on the side and I was adding stuff in as I went. This time I used a Python script instead. So what the script was doing was it was reading the game logs or the client file as the game was playing. And within that, anytime you load a zone, it'll put text in that client box saying like, loading zone at this time with this seed number for the map name this, blah, 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 blah. And anything that goes into your local chat or any of your chats also will go into that client file. So you can either read it after the fact, you can open it up. It takes ages to load because of how much content's in there. But you can open up, read through it. It's just like a wall of text though. So the Python script I was using read through that wall of script as it was entered, and would search for really specific, unique keywords that would help me work out whether it was a map that it was talking about. It would work out the level of the area that that map contained, the name of the map, and the date and time that the loading occurred, as well as the unique seed number for that area as well. So a lot of hideouts will just have the seed area 1, but your individual maps, each map will have its own unique ID number. So that Python script would read those numbers. Anytime a new entry was made for a map, it would automatically spit it out into this Google Sheet document. Once it was in Sheets, I could then start using formulas to kind of make the information a bit more digestible again. So in this tally folder, I would have a column down here that would read through that pass document and give me a number of unique seed numbers for that level and name of map. So all of these are area level 83s, so T16 maps. And if I went into the area, left the area, went into it again, it would recognize the fact that that was still the same map and it wouldn't count it a second time. From there, I could break it down even further into different things. Even your blueprints will have different names. The Starfall Craters have a specific name when you go into the area. So all of this stuff, even your memory map areas, your boss areas, all of this would be countable because it's text that goes into your client file. The one thing I was looking to track that it doesn't put in the client file is items that you drop or pick up. So in that case, I would have to manually add that into the chat, and I had a little phrase that I would copy and paste into there, or I had a little shortcut that it would copy and paste a specific phrase. When it saw that phrase, it knew I was posting an item in there. So for example, I could write myself notes about what happened at that time, or in some cases it would show me the exact time that a girded tower shield dropped. And that way I could keep track of shields, rings, the things that meant the most to me in those farming times. All of this led to a far more brainless farm for me to do. Led to less human error involved, and it meant that I could yap to Twitch chat, watch movies. Like, I didn't have to be switched on all the time, making sure I counted things correctly. And each time that I swapped strategies, I would copy and paste the pass logs, so the raw data, into its own sheet. So then I kept that information kind of separate so I could track the different strategies a little bit. Now, all of that culminated in one final document, which was the strategy comparison, which is the results. So we'll comb through this one strategy at a time and quickly talk over them. So this one was my very first strategy. It was kind of fresh into red maps kind of thing. I didn't have the extra currency to start running scarabs. I just had heist on the map to keep some currency flowing, but I did have a full atlas. So I had the full Kalguran atlas and I had the full heist atlas so I could get blueprints. I don't think I had bestiary at this stage. I think I added that in a little bit later. Ran 500 maps, saw 9 craters, didn't see a single Svalinn. That's not that surprising because I think at that stage, I'm only likely getting maybe 1 or 2 ore nodes, maybe none at all in some maps. So it's not a strong strategy for seeing even ore nodes at all, let alone seeing Verisium that will turn into a crater, right? So maps per crater, not very good. Craters per Svalinn, extremely not good. Next, let's move down one more strat. Strategy number 2. This time we made a little bit more currency. We could afford our extra 2 scarabs. This strategy number 2, was the one that I made my last video halfway through this. So I had made 2 Svalins at the time that I made the video, and that was about 500 maps in. In the next 500, I found another 2. So this had me finding 4 Svalinn Tower Shields in 32 maps, which was 1 shield every 8 maps, which is an absolutely absurdly lucky drop rate for the shield. Bonkers. Honestly, if you're struggling finding even craters at this stage, you can feel free to drop a little hate in the comments for me. Like, I deserve it. That is disgusting. And that was giving us an overall Svalinn drop rate of 12.5%, which is well above average. There's no way it is near that high. This is a very lucky sample. Actually ended up finishing my build off and making a mirror in profit, and half of that mirror came from these Svalinn Tower Shields. Next, we'll have a look at strategy 2B. Now, this is actually the oldest strategy. This was from 3.26. This one was the exact same atlas that I was running in strategy 2, and it had the same scarabs, and it had heist on the map device. So I would have expected quite similar results between these two, but we did get quite different numbers of craters as well as rates of shields out of craters. So it was a little bit odd to see such different results from a similar sample size of the exact same farm. And on one hand, that is kind of just the nature of the beast with this. You are going to have really big fluctuation of how often you can find a crater and therefore how often you find a shield. But it has led me to wonder if the type of map that you're in is also a contributing factor as well. This was all run, strategy 2 was almost entirely run off dunes maps, whereas 2B was entirely run off strand maps. I had a brief look and I found that the strand maps that I ran for a little while were running slightly less ore nodes. I was getting 4, maybe 5 in strand, where I was getting 5 consistently, sometimes 6 in dunes. So I'm not sure if there's a different number of total spawns that you can have of ore nodes in different maps. I'm keen to trial that in the future. But anyway, so quickly summarizing this one, we ended up getting a rate of 11 craters per Svalinn shield found with this strategy, or a 9.1 drop chance that when you killed the Black Knight, you would get a shield. Next, let's look at our third strat for this league, which was having the full Atlas, 2 Scarabs, and now Kalgur on the map device instead. Now this is definitely decreasing your consistent profits, because selling your blueprints and deceptions is really your bread and butter for to get you through those dry spells. But since I'd made so much currency from these earlier strats, I could afford to do something that was a bit more neutral. I don't think I lost money actually on this, but it did kind of, it got a lot slower. You weren't like finishing a build off with this kind of strat. So this strategy, again, running for around 1,000 maps, we ended up getting 32 craters, so definitely increased our rate of seeing craters, and we got 2 shields out of it. I will say we did expect to see a bigger increase in doing this. With the Kalgur on the map, you're almost doubling the financial investment. Like these scarabs were down to maybe 1.5 chaos each, so 3 chaos for a map, whereas the map device is worth 5 chaos, and both are just adding 2 more ore nodes on your map. You would expect a much greater increase than like an extra 5 craters in 1,000 maps. But I don't know, maybe that strategy too was just quite a lucky batch. Maybe you wouldn't really see that many craters that frequently. I'm not sure. But this strategy 3 got us a rate of 19 craters to run to get a Svalinn Tower Shield. This is starting to get down to more grounded numbers of 5.4% for a drop rate instead. Especially anecdotally, this still feels like quite a lucky number. I haven't really heard many people getting under 20, other than people bragging about getting one from their second crater and then never running a crater again. Now, fourth and finally, we'll jump onto the last strat that I ran. So this time it was kind of a mixed atlas. I was finishing off my challenges, so I was swapping nodes around and things like that. I kept it consistent that I always did still have the full Kalgur, but other things were swapping around a little bit so I could finish off the challenges a little bit easier. Most of the time I had at least 2 Kalguran Scarabs and Kalgur on the map, but it wasn't 100% of the time. There was some times that I didn't. So for that reason, my maps per crater ratio might not be perfectly reliable, but it is still in the range of the other set that was doing pretty much the same thing. This one was a much larger sample size though. We chopped out bestiary by this point. We were just doing heist every now and then because it's not forced into your map. By doing heist, I mean just clicking on it, picking up the blueprints and selling them. And we ended up just running that until we found 100 craters, because we got 100 from this set all up. So we thought we'd round it off, keep on pushing until we hit that 100. In this data set, we also only got 4 Svalinn shields, which makes this 4 out of 32 even more wild that we did 100 and got the same amount. That gave us a craters per Svalinn of 25 craters to run to get a shield, which gives us a 4% drop rate. So that's kind of the full batch in a nutshell. These are all the results I got out of the farm for both this season and last season there for 3.26. But before we group this all up together and compare it to the wiki, there is one more thing I wanted to run over, which is the Starfall gap. And by that, I mean, I really want to drive home what I said at the start, that if you're going to get into farming Svalinn Tower Shields, there can be a lot of maps that you run when nothing's there. So whatever you're doing other than the farm, the side farm, you want that to be the thing that you're enjoying most of the time, with your kind of unicorn moment of every now and then 50 divine will fall in your lap. So what I've got in this spreadsheet is every time that I went above 100 maps run without seeing a Svalinn. So obviously these are sequential. This isn't like one full set up to 100. This is like leading up to this one. So this batch was early on. It was in Strat 1. So this one kind of made a lot of sense. Like we didn't have any scarabs. It was the heist on the map device. So it was a little bit reasonable that it would take 169 also nice runs or maps for us to be able to find a shield. So that's not that surprising. Our worst one, 169. Next one, 118, was in our second strat. So 118 maps, not a single crater. Didn't see a crater for 118 maps. This one, full atlas and 2 scarabs, still the heist device. So a little bit more understandable, but still, like, you got some investment there. Still over 100 maps with feeling like you're fully invested in the atlas, you're putting chaos into it, over 100 maps to get to it. These next ones also, again, we're starting to get bigger investment now. So this is Strat 3 and Strat 4. Also sets of over 100 maps where we did not see a single crater. This time we've got Kalgur on the map device as well. So we've got the 5 chaos into it there. We've got 2 scarabs and we've got a full atlas. We're still not seeing it for 120 maps. Like, this is a long period of time that you're not getting a single bone to keep you motivated in the grind. And that's another thing. If you're not running the maps in 30 or 40 seconds, this is taking a long time. If you're taking a minute per map, if you're like flogging a beast for most of the map kind of thing. That was a reference to Ironheart, obviously. I mean, up to you if you flog a beast while you're doing this. Anyway, we've got another one here, also in Strat 4, 168 maps without a single crater. Like, this is a slog at this point. You're getting close to 200 maps, not seeing a single crater. Like, you want the second farm that you're doing to be enjoyable. But the worst of all of them was the final slug. We sat at 199 craters completed for 178 maps. We just wanted the 200 so bad, we just kept on going. This was a absolute slog. And again, this is our worst run, our driest streak was when we were at full investment. I say this as a warning, we don't do Svalinn farms because it makes us happy the whole time. We do it for those little moments when you finally get a shield. Now let's get back into the strategy comparison. We're gonna have one last little looking at the combined results. So here is all of my farms joined up together. So we ran a total of 6,413 maps. We saw a total of 200 craters, 12 Svalinn Tower Shields fell from it, which left us a rate of 17 craters to run to be able to get a shield, which left us at a drop rate of 6% of the time. Comparing that to the PoE Wiki estimates, we are correcting that 320 to 327. Now this is our 2.4% drop rate because they found 8 tower shields out of 327 craters. Joining all of that together, we've got our bottom figures here. In total, the 2 sets of data have seen 527 craters, 20 combined shields, so 26 craters to run to see your tower shield, which gives us a rate of 3.8% drop rate. My gut vibe and my loins agree with this number here. I do think a lot of my data sets came through on the lucky side. I think I got a little bit of streamer luck. Definitely in that early on set, I dropped far more than I reasonably should have. I think a lot of these guys were having incredibly poor luck. So I think I stole a bit of their luck. I think combining these 2 data sets is fair and reasonable. So I think we have got a balanced number out there at the end with a sample size of 527 craters run. Now, if you have appreciated the sheer amount of time that I've put into running over 6,400 maps into one of the more dry farms you can possibly do in Path of Exile, I would very much appreciate a like and a follow. If you have any other ideas for extremely dry farms where there isn't much solid data on it, feel free to drop a comment in the chat. Things that are mysterious within Path of Exile, preferably things that'll stick around for multiple leagues, so we've got a bit of time to flesh it all out. Chuck those thoughts in the comments down below. But otherwise, we'll probably see you next time. This is me out. Bye for now.